Yo, 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 it's your girl and boy CT. I'm Cindy Barnes.
And I'm Travis Barnes.
And we are the founders of the Overcomers Podcast.
The Overcomers Podcast is designed to help you overcome adversity and live your dreams. Every week we will be sharing stories of people who found their strength in their struggle. The Overcomers Podcast is sponsored by Journey 333, and that's a lot of threes, so let me tell you what it is. It's fitness, coaching, and nutrition. It is a place where we help you to look better, live better, and feel better, and it is mind, body, spirit. Today, we're going to help you get your mind right with our special guest. Hello, Overcomer Nation. Boy, do I have a treat for you today. Recently, my wife and I, Cindy, traveled to Sedona, Arizona, and we got to meet this wonderful lady. It was our first of a series of coaching and healing that we were on. Enocha Ranjita Ryan. She is the owner, which she prefers to call herself more of like trusted with a sacred privilege for a place called Your Heart's Home. And let me tell you, folks, they gave me a box of tissues that I would take with me along the way just in case I needed them. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to need any tissues. Well, let me tell you, just one session with Rajnita, and she just had my heart so open and healing so much that I said, boy, the world needs to know more about what's going on here and how they can get in touch with their spirits like I was fortunate enough to do. And so I asked her to be on this podcast. And Rajnita, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with you, Travis. And I feel Cindy in spirit with us.
Yes, yeah, I wish that she was here. But she is here in spirit. You're right about that. And let me tell you, so I didn't get a chance to just mention, Rajnita is a coach. She's a healer. She's an author. And she's learned to get in touch with her spirit in a special way. But fortunately for you, Overcomer Nation, it's a way that you can do it too. So, Rajnita, if we could, let everybody get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your journey and tell the world what you want them to know. Let's talk.
Thank you so much. Well, let's first, put a big, huge high five out to Sedona Soul Adventures, which is what you were led to, and I was one of the practitioners that was had the sacred privilege, as I say, to be able to serve you and Cindy on your intentional journey here, and your. It was just exciting to meet you. I was just so impressed with the two of you. Your story just had me riveted and had me just, really humbled at your feet that I had the privilege of being in sacred space with you and Cindy and all that you had been through.
Well, I agree.
So thank you for asking.
High five.
Wow.
High five to Sedona Soul Adventures and, Deborah Stengel and all the people that she's brought together to be part of that, because it is a real interesting group. And it's just people that want to help people that got together in a group. So you go to different places and you get to connect with different people. And it's interesting. I don't know, Overcomer Nation, have you ever had this happen in your life where you didn't end up where you thought you were going to be, but you ended up where you were supposed to be? And so we originally received an itinerary that did not include Rajnita. Rajnita was good enough to step in for somebody that I think that they had an illness or something happened in their family. But then we were just by chance or coincidence. Einstein said coincidence was God's way of remaining anonymous. So let's just say that. And that's how we got to meet. So yes, high five to Sedona Soul Adventures. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but Deborah came here to Your Heart's Home 23 years ago as a guest.
Oh,
and
wow.
She was an attorney, a burned out, really not happy attorney in Omaha, Nebraska. And she came here for a retreat, and we had a life-changing, altering session that her soul told her, you cannot continue to do what you're doing. Anyway, short and long and story is that she came back here 17 times in 2.5 years as my friend. And we became very super duper allies. And the unfolding of Sedona Soul Adventures kind of got seated right here at Your Heart's Home, and the earth energies that are very prominent in this canyon. And so anyway, that story is a whole nother story. But what I'd love to share about is my adversity and how I got led into this work. And I call myself a transformational healing artist.
Okay.
And I
Artist.
like, yes, I've coined that term for myself, and I like the art part of that word itself, that title itself, because I love to be able to be creative and to be able to just go with the flow that's moving through me as I'm working with others to help them to get more connected to the essence of who they are.
Well, I've gotten to
So
witness the artist part of that. I've gotten to experience it firsthand. I think I was part of the artwork.
yeah, yeah. I,
It
I
was,
always I always tell people when I say I'm in the surprise of the uncharted moment with you, and let's see where it goes.
oh
So
man.
what led me into my spiritual path was, it started very young in my life. When I was 13 years old, I started to become a compulsive overeater. That was my way of soothing myself. That was my way of being able to fill up those holes that were becoming really gaps in my being, and a way to feel like I could get some sweetness out of life. And so 13, 14, my mother's starting to put me on diets, really restrictive diets. And by 16 years old, I thought that I invented bulimia.
Oh no.
Me, I invented it, right? No,
Yeah.
I guess I was just following a tradition of insanity, but I started to really become completely out of control with binging and purging and everything else that you could imagine in between, to try to stay at some weight that would be acceptable for my mother and still have this, this compulsion that was building, as like a hungry lion inside of me. So by the time I was 20 years old and my life was totally out of control, I went to my first 12-step meeting, which was, it had just birthed out of the movement of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was called Overeaters Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly read through the 12 steps, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a spiritual program. This is based on having some kind of a surrender to a power greater than myself. Well, there was no question that I was not out of control. My life had become unmanageable, and all the things that, put you on your hands and knees. So I just decided to take a big old shortcut, which I tend to do. And I thought, well, I'm just going to the surrender step. I left the meeting. I was living in Wisconsin on, near Lake Michigan. I went to the shores of Lake Michigan while the sun was setting. And I put out a call to the universe that was so sincere. And I just said, God, and I say God because, and now I have a whole different meaning for God, that is very universal. But I was raised Catholic, and very, very Catholic, and very, religious. And but this God thing, I was like, I had rejected the religious and the dogmatic part of God, when I was early in my life, around 13. I thought, this is not the God I know. So when I stood on the seashore, on the lake shore, I just said, whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, I need help. I need help. And all of a sudden, the help came in the most unexpected way. I started having this shaking that started quaking through my body. It started from my feet, and it went up my legs, and it started, as it got to my hips and my belly. Every emotion that I had been stuffing down with the food began to come up. It was like there was no holding it back. I began to sob and sob and sob. And this movement just kept going. It was like being in an emotional storm that was out of control. And I couldn't have stopped it if I wanted. It was like a train moving through me. And in the meantime, my body just kept shaking and shaking. It was like, the life force was just, it was so powerful that, to this day, I can feel it,
Right.
So I fell to my hands and knees. I couldn't stand up anymore. And then my head hit the sand, and the movement just kept moving through me and moving through me and moving through me, waves and waves and waves, until all of a sudden, everything went quiet.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, in the quiet and the stillness, the voice of my soul started speaking to me, as clear as a bell, and said to me, you are going to change everything about your life. You are going to say goodbye to everyone that you know that's familiar to you. You are going to pack your bags, and you are going to buy a van, and you're going to go on an epic adventure, and you're going to be led and guided every step of the way. And this epic adventure is going to change your life and lead you to who you are. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I had 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to school. I had a boyfriend. I had a big family. I had a lot going on back in, Wisconsin at this young age.
Yeah. How old were you again?
This was 20 years old. I was 20 years old
Okay.
when this happened.
When you're hearing your soul speaking to you, you're 20 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
Time. Okay.
Yeah. But so I went home and I told my sister Christine. We lived in an apartment together near the college we were going to. And I said, Christine, you are never going to believe what happened to me. I said, I think I had a spiritual awakening, and my soul spoke to me and said that I was going to leave everything and say goodbye to everyone and get a van. And I was going to travel around the United States, and I was going to be led and guided. And she said, well, you're not going without me.
Okay.
Right.
Good sister. Let's go.
Good. And so within 30 days, we quit our jobs. We said goodbye to our family, our boyfriends, everybody that was familiar. Mm-hmm. We bought our van. We called him Van Morrison. We fixed little Van.
To the mystic.
We fixed Van Morrison up, like a little home. We put a bed and it was just, it was primitive, but it was just what we needed. Uh-huh. We took a magic marker, and this is before GPS and everything else, obviously, and made a big, huge circle all around the United States of America. That was our triptych. And we started off from Wisconsin, and within 3 days and hitting the Rocky Mountains, I looked at my sister and I said, I know I'm never going to be going back. Wow. Now, how this affected, so anyway, the long and the short of the story is that I thought that after that spiritual awakening, I was just going to not be a compulsive overeater anymore, that it was going to instantly heal me, that I was going to just, have this, this magical miracle relief. And that didn't happen that way. It happened through a deep, deep dive into my inner being. And sure enough, we were led and guided every step of the way. That was the most magical year of my life. And we found Sedona in our travels. Wow. And when we found Sedona, my sister and I both felt like, oh my God, this is our home. This is our soul's home. And this was when Sedona was a little teeny tiny town. This was over 45 years ago that we found Sedona. And it was 2,500 people in all of the greater Sedona area. So you can imagine, after you've been to Sedona recently, what little Sedona was like. But it was just the beauty here and the sacredness of this land was exactly what the healing medicine was that I needed. By the time I had gone so deep into the addiction, I was the most self-loathing, self-hating, shameful person. And the journey of being able to fall in love with myself, to be able to go in and allow spirit to help me unravel all the things that were keeping me bound inside. So I really was not only led and guided every step of the way with this journey, the physical journey of going to all these different places and spaces, but the ability to keep going inside and go deeper and deeper. And, you know, I remember when you were here and I was enlightening you to the bandits, you know, the bandits that rob us of, and that run every addiction under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So the bandits I discovered in myself, which I don't think I mentioned that. Oh yeah, how I discovered the bandits was that they were eating me up inside, but they are self-judgment
Mm-hmm.
that feeds guilt, and guilt that feeds shame.
Listen to that. Listen to that. Let's repeat that, because that was something that was a big takeaway for me from the session that we had. There was twerps and bandits. And if we can, the bandits are a little bigger than twerps. These two can kind of sit on your shoulder. Those are those negative voices. But you said that the bandits are self-judgment that leads to guilt, that leads to shame. Those
that
are like
feeds guilt.
Feeds guilt.
And guilt feeds shame. It's like this toxic feeding frenzy that goes on underneath the surface of our life. And the bandits use any addictive, behavior, whether it be drinking or smoking or, like gambling. It's like, but they're the things that we're really addicted to. We're addicted to that, because we're used to feeling that shame and that, guilt about ourselves. So when I literally evicted, when my eyes were so open to what was running this addiction under the surface, and I released that secret marriage, and I said to myself, if I eat a house, hook, line, and sinker, I am not going to judge myself, feel guilty or shameful about it. And I literally made that determination. And from that determination, I unmarried this secret, this secret energy that had been using my life. And guess what happened?
What happened?
The compulsion fell away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It had nothing to link into anymore.
Yeah.
And so when the compulsion, it's like all of a sudden I was literally, after 15 years, Travis, of fighting this compulsive disorder, that was running my life and costing me an unbelievable, sense of self and many other things, money included, like time and energy and all the things that are our most valuable resources. When I would have a compulsion, what I would do is I would just sit in a chair and I would go through the entire process in my mind's eye. Like I was, okay, I'm getting in my car and I'm driving to the store, and I go to the store and I'm getting all the things that I want to, binge on it. And I'm barely getting out of the checkout line before I've got the bag of potato chips, popped open, and I'm already, on my way. Anyway, I'd go through the whole thing, all the way down, all the way through to the end process, which was never pretty. And I would just go, okay, now does that feel like love to you?
Right.
And every single time it was, oh no, that feels like torture. That feels like self-abuse. That feels like anything but love. And in that moment, I would just say, what does feel like love to you? What are you hungering for? And then it was usually something about, something really nurturing, really beautiful that would feed me, something, that I was really craving. And then I would give myself that directly. And anyway, this story I tell you is like holding a skeleton of an old self up, because I've had 100% complete and total freedom from food, from my weight. I never have to worry about my weight. It doesn't go up or down. It stays one steady and this has been years and years. I eat when I'm hungry. I eat the foods that I enjoy and that I love and that feel good to me. I have a completely different life. And so what happened is, through this journey of being able to heal myself from the grips of this addiction, I realized I have a passion for this healing process. Like I just started to be so fascinated with the psycho-spiritual, emotional abilities of these bodies and these physical beings that are the temple of spirit. And what a miracle this is, that we live as this union between a human and a spirit, and how to enhance that spiritual connection so that that's what lives our life. That's what guides us. That's what, shows us each step of the way. So fast forward, Travis, my life, and listening to that soul that woke me up that day has just been magical. I mean, my soul has continued to guide me and show me, and I get these downloads, and they're just clear as a bell.
Yeah.
There's sometimes.
I guess I just, a couple of things that you're saying. I feel like since the time you were 20 and you had that spiritual awakening, you've had this strong inner voice inside you that kind of coached you through things. Because with the overeating, and you said, you had this voice inside you saying, did that feel like love? That's a good, strong inner voice that, you can kind of have this, the soul part of yourself, this higher self speaking to you, just kind of coaching you and loving you through something to say, this is not how you want to treat yourself. And I think that's amazing, because I think a lot of us don't know how to tune into that voice. A lot of us maybe I think we all have the same voice that we could tune into. We just have been ignoring it or keeping it quiet. And you have this powerful voice that was speaking to you through that adversity in your life, which I think is awesome. And what I just want all the listeners to tune into as well is, did you hear how she used the word evicted? She said, when I evicted the bandits, the bandits of, maybe you can relate to this. Do you judge yourself on things? And does that judgment feed the guilt? And then does that feed the shame? And then do you keep doing those things? And what would it be like if you weren't judging yourself on those things? Would you be free of it the same way that Ranjita was? So really, really, really powerful stuff. So
can I make a little comment about, so we all have, inner senses. These inner senses are how our spirit can guide us. So some of us do have a little bit more of the auditory, they have that inner voice, and they've become used to hearing that inner voice, and that inner voice is what they kind of lean into. Some people have inner vision, where they actually see the picture, it's spelled out to them through their visual. And some people have the inner sense of the feeling, or the intuition, where they just know what they know. And so, when you start really tuning in with these inner senses, and the thing about the inner senses is that those are the ones that will come up first. They're like the immediate, they're right there on the surface. But then those twerps that we were talking about earlier, those little voices in our head that don't shut up, that are always telling us what we should have done, could have done, why did they do, but they're little critical, judgmental voices. They often override that inner sense. They say, oh, you could never do that, or wow, why would you think that you could write that book, and so they'll undermine our very connection. So when we learn, that's the thing that we want to be, is a very excellent steward of our energetic field, and we want to harvest these inner resources so that we can use those inner resources as our primary guide and our real, the real essence of ourself that can lead us through life and really expose the magic and the miracles that we are living in every single day.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah,
choose.
that's really good. And the word steward, that's how I wanted to introduce you, because even though she owns your heart's home, she calls herself a steward. And then also in my experience with you, Ranjita, when we were talking about the twerps, because I have some twerps, if you want to know.
We all do.
I have some twerps. And Ranjita,
we don't want to listen to those.
Right.
We don't want to listen to those twerps.
You made it so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we don't want to give them any power.
Yeah. You said, you turn to those twerps on your shoulder and say, your energy is not welcome here. And that's what we're talking about here, like that you have different energy fields that you can operate in. The opposite of fear is love, right? But when we're in those lower energy fields that maybe the bandits took us to because of judgment and guilt and shame, and now we're afraid of what we think or what others think or all those kind of things, we're operating in spaces where we don't want to live. So Ranjita taught me when I was at your heart's home, so tell those twerps that they're not welcome here. And I said, well, yeah, I like that. Let's kick them out too.
Yeah. Well, we're the commander and chief of our field, so we really want to be, a worthy steward of this energetic field and have what enhances our life and our self-love. And what you were speaking of, in terms of lower energies, I mean, you said it really fast of, there's fear and then there's love. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody kind of knows that they can operate, in one of those two operating systems. I call them vibrations. Mm-hmm. And Eckhart Tolle, his first book, and he's an amazing consciousness teacher, he exposed this phenomenon that he called the pain body. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I had bells and whistles going off, because the pain body, is that not a great word that mm-hmm. describes what we are, typically under a lot of influence of? Mm-hmm. So Eckhart Tolle, he goes on and on about the pain body in his Power of Now book. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, I want the simple definition. Okay, exactly what is the pain body? How do you get rid of the pain body? And then I'm thinking, if there's a pain body, is there a joy body? Mm-hmm. And how could one live in the joy body all the time? Mm-hmm. So this is what I woke up with in the middle of the night one night. And I asked Spirit to give me to give me that information. Mm-hmm. So Spirit, again, here's my inner voice, says, all right. The pain.
Love it. I love it.
I love Spirit so much. Anyway, Spirit says, the pain body is not who you are. It's like an energetic entity that feeds off of your life force energy like a parasite. Mm-hmm. And the only way that parasitic energy can get into your life force is wherever you're vibrating in fear. Mm. And so Spirit was like, fear is a low-grade frequency. If you're vibrating in the frequency of fear, you're an attractive energy for pain body activity. Once a pain body's in, once a pain body can then, use your energy for its feeding, it works in collusion with those twerps. Wow. To keep us at the low-grade fear thoughts. Yeah. So, and then when I asked, is there a joy body? Spirit said, of course there's a joy body. The joy body is who you are. Mm. And the joy body lives right inside your inner being. And like all your chakras and everything are lined up with this core of joy that vibrates to the frequency of love. So love is a frequency, Travis. Fear is a frequency. Think of it as an energetic, vibrational quality of energy. And if you're vibrating in the frequency of love, pain body cannot touch you. It's the wrong frequency. It doesn't have a meeting place. It doesn't have any place to grip in. So I asked Spirit, how do you stay in the joy body all the time? Mm-hmm. And Spirit said, that's easy. There's a 3-word mantra, like a 3-word prayer. And if you're willing to use this mantra as your constant prayer, this mantra will keep all pain body activity away. This mantra will vibrate your frequency at the frequency of love, your natural state. That's your natural state, the frequency of love. And this is the most powerful prayer that you could ever say to the divine. And I said, okay, what's my mantra?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay. I promise you'll use it?
Yes.
If I give it to you? Okay.
Overcomer
Okay.
Nation, we're making a promise
Okay.
together right now. Here we
Okay,
go.
all right, here we go. Because I'll tell you, this changed my life. I mean, it really did. And in the most simple way. But what the 3 words are is, and repeat after me, I love me.
Me.
I love me. I love me.
Yeah.
I love me.
How hard is that to say sometimes? And we need,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
People, I know. Well, when you first hear it, it's like so adverse because we were taught, oh, don't love yourself because that's selfish or that's conceited or that's arrogant. And now we have the big word narcissism, which is, for people who think too highly of them, anyway, but that's totally different than what I'm speaking of. This is not this, I'm so great. No, yeah. This is literally, you're amping up your frequency. You're literally moving your frequency to this inner vibrational core of love. And when you're vibrating in that frequency of love, that frequency is the same frequency that's known as the Christ consciousness. It's known as heaven on earth. Mm-hmm. It's known as your natural state. Wow. And so when you're there, you feel this attunement, this at one-ment. I mean, I'm a total nature girl. I live in the middle of nature.
Boy, actually, you don't know because you can't tell just by listening to this podcast how beautiful your heart's home is. This sanctuary that is where Ranjita is the steward, actually the owner, but she prefers to call herself the steward. But she is positioned right between the masculine and feminine energy and these mountains. Oh my gosh, we could go on. We could go
Canyon Mama. Yeah,
Canyon Mama. It's awesome.
But Travis, again, my coming, my being led to your heart's home was not like, oh, I'm looking for a new place to live and I'm going to go out and look at real estate. No, I came onto this property and my inner voice said to me, again, clear as a bell. This is like, I'm the magic of when you listen is just, and then you follow is just, it's incomparable to, anything that we can do when we push and struggle in life. So I get out of my car. I came to visit a friend of mine that lived here. And my inner voice said, welcome to your new home. I said, I'm not looking for a new home. And the inner voice continued and said, no. Like, listen up. This place wants to be a sanctuary for people to come to receive the teaching and the healing of this land. Now you're going to go through an initiation to be the steward of this land, the keeper of the sanctuary, and the priestess of the temple.
Wow.
They said that in quotes, priestess of the temple. They said, now as time goes on, you're going to know exactly what this calling is about. They told me what was going to happen to my friend who was the owner here. And they told me her time here is over. She's going to be called forth to serve the world in a much bigger way. Mm-hmm. You're going to be coming here and you're going to turn this room into a guest room. And this room will be, I didn't even know the layout of the house. Mm-hmm. I had never been here during the day or anything, but they laid this all out. And then they said, and don't worry, eventually you'll be able to afford to buy this place. Wow. So, just kind of, so this, so within 1 week, well, first of all, within 2 days, my friend was called forth to serve the world in a bigger way. And she knew that was her calling. Within 1 week, Canyon Mama, I'm on the property now 3 times in 1 week. because the property like,
It's calling you.
and Canyon Mama introduced herself, and she introduced her partners. She introduced the teaching and the healing of the land. All of a sudden it was like, oh my God, this is a sacred place. And these earth energies have called me to be their spokes, their steward and their spokespeople. And Canyon Mama told me, she said, I'm going to draw the people here that I will be working with. And you'll know who they are, and just introduce me, because she's this big, open, receptive energy that is like this, she's saying that the connection to our spirit is through the receptive principle. It's through the feminine principle. It's not through the masculine, that we've all polarized into Mr. Doer, doing to get, to earn, to deserve, to have, to become worthy of, and we're all wearing ourselves out. But no, it's through the receiving. It's through the opening to receive. So she,
if I could, I just, I know that we have different, everybody's different. That's what makes the world great, is that we all have our own uniqueness. And so as you're listening to this, I just want to encourage, wherever you are on this spectrum of energies and spectrums of having an inner voice, all of us probably listen to this show have said at one time or another, I'm driving myself crazy, or I've made myself mad. And so in that moment, you've admitted that you do have two selves, the self that's kind of observing and the one that's being driven crazy, right? They're two that are working against each other. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just let that inner voice do something besides talk to you about how angry it is or how you're driving it crazy, but instead just, be that higher self that shows up for you? And when we're talking about energies, and we're talking about energies of the earth, science, and it's at our base, everything, the earth, everything that you see, it's all energy. So, don't let these words scare you. Let these words just interest you, don't become frustrated, become fascinated.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions for you I just wanted to know, because you showed up in Sedona 45 years ago. You look too young to have showed up 45 years ago, but you showed up there 45 years ago, town of 2,500 people, a strong inner voice. My two questions are this: along your spiritual journey to becoming the healer, the healing artist that you are today,
Thank you.
who's been your greatest influence in your journey to become who you are, and what is your favorite way to help people today? What's your favorite? It seemed like I experienced a lot of modalities, if you will, while I was there. There was sound healings and breath work, and there were so many different ways to really help people, and I got to experience several. But who's been your greatest influence, and what's your favorite way to help people today?
Wow, that's such an interesting question, because I've had so many influences, and I've been just an open sponge to receive. I don't know why, but Oprah Winfrey is coming up for me.
Okay, all right.
I mean, somebody. I went to high school with Oprah Winfrey.
You did?
Do you believe that?
Oh,
Milwaukee,
cool.
Nicolay High School. She's in my yearbook. We didn't actually know each other, but it was back when she was being bussed in, and I was, she was one of our, our first Black people coming to our school, and I was just fascinated by her. I remember she'd walk by my locker, and I'd be like, wow, I wonder what that's like for her to come to a school that's mostly all white people. Anyway, but what she's done with her life and her career and her generosity of spirit, and how she's informed so many people on how to heal and awaken, and in such a user-friendly way. Anyway, but I've had a lot of great teachers and coaches, and I myself went to massage school when I was in my very early 30s. I think I was just 30, because I wanted to begin to help people in a different way. And when you come to Sedona, you know, and you're young and people say, well, what did you do here when, you know, when it was just this little tiny town? And I said, I did the Sedona shuffle. It means that you do anything and everything that you can do to stay here, you know, and to get your roots here. And, but then I went to massage school, and that's, you know, where my life really changed, because I became fascinated with the intelligence of our bodies and how this body, mind, heart, soul connection can heal, you know, all kinds of diseases, all kinds of wounds from the past, and our cellular memory, bringing that to the surface of our consciousness so that we can, you know, have freedom. So from hands-on work, I went into energy work, breath work, you know, just, I became just fascinated. I had so many certifications and so many different modalities, you know. So I became, you know, with Sedona Soul Adventure, I became the person that could pretty much do any of the sessions. And so that's why whenever they need me, even though I resigned a year ago from being a practitioner, I fill in anytime they need me, because I love what they're doing so much. I love Deborah and her beautiful, beautiful gift that she's giving the world through her retreats. And so, yeah. I'm happy to. But
That's really
my
good.
sanctuary. Yeah. So, but recently, you know, and again, this is my spirit voice, but before the pandemic started, I got a premonition about the pandemic, and spirit just told me, oh, by the way, just like that. Oh, by the way, very casual. There's going to be a worldwide epidemic. And I don't think I would have heard the word pandemic, because I wouldn't have known that word. Worldwide epidemic, and it is going to invoke an incredible amount of fear. And your job is to stay out of all fear.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to hold space for healing to happen. Do not be afraid of this virus. It's not, you know, so, and continue to create sanctuary. Can people come and be out in nature and you know, and not have to live in fear. So then I got the message, and you are going, while everybody is being afraid of death and dying, you're going to dive into death and dying.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to start training as a death doula and
a death doula.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a death doula? The definition of that, or you know, how?
Well, the most powerful two rites of passage that we ever go on is our birth into life, and the other guaranteed passage that we're all going to make is our birth out of life, into our spirit, into our free natural essence, ourselves as, you know, as God, goddess beings, you know. So holding space and holding that sacred spiritual, emotional space for people and families is what a death doula does. She's like a midwife for the spirit to be able to
Wow,
go
that's
to freedom.
Awesome. Wow.
And then I got certified as a death doula and a home funeral guide and educator. So teaching families how to care for their loved ones before, during, and after death, where you don't have to call the funeral home and have them come pick up the body so that you don't deal with it. You can have that body lay in honor and in state in your own homes. And so to learning all the, you know, the legalities of all of that. And then I call myself a green burial advocate. So to return back to the natural way of burial. So I'm even actually creating a green burial place on my property. I'm going through the legal, and energies of getting that all.
That's such a high calling. And you know, you've been so generous with your time today. I thank you so much. I thank you for what you did for Cindy and I while we were out there, and I thank you for being willing to follow up with a podcast, because I just wanted more people to have the same awareness that we now have of what's available to us. Because we can't wait to go back to Sedona. We can't wait till our next face-to-face encounter with you, which today virtually we get to do that, but I look forward to doing it in person. And
not to put in a plug for myself for Your Heart's Home, but I hope you'll consider staying at Your Heart's Home when you come. That would be so awesome.
That would be amazing.
I know.
Seriously, that gets me super pumped, because I said, what a great way to start our journey, because we traveled like over this bridge and over this river and down this dirt road, and I felt like exactly what we were doing. We climbed the high mountain to talk to the high priestess in a beautiful space of energy. It
is a rite of passage. That mile-long dirt road down Old Indian Road. Yeah.
And I'm just, Wayne Dyer says, have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing. And I hope that our listeners today, you might put different words on things, what Ranjita calls spirit, maybe you call Holy Spirit in your walk, and that's fine. And, her death doula, maybe you think of some of those people that have actually been called to be in hospice care with people, and what a high calling that is, and what a great heart for helping people that you've been blessed with, this calling. And thank you so much for doing what you do. You're an important turning point in my life. You definitely, it was an emotional experience. It was a wonderful experience. And I came back. I'm working towards evolving towards some of our goals. She said, don't work yourself so hard, and have everything you do be a sacred privilege. And I'm not sure I've achieved that quite yet, but I have kept it in the forefront of my mind to make sure that I am bringing more balance to my life, and telling those bandits to get off my shoulder and take the twerps with them. And
exactly. You're evicted. Let's send those to Mars. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
Not people, but those. Yeah.
Load them up on an Elon Musk rocket. Exactly. Away. Yeah. That'd be great. Ranjita, thank you.
What a pleasure. Thank you for letting me just, share and be blah blah blah, but I just love you, Travis and Cindy, and oh my gosh, you touched my heart so deeply, and you came so open, that I could just dive right in, and you were like, come on, give it to me, and I'm like, okay, here's we're gonna go. And that's when you're open, that's all it's required.
We love you too, and we thank you for that. And let me just ask this for our listeners, because they're probably getting pretty curious right now. How do they get connected with Your Heart's Home? What's the best path for them? Or to connect with you? How about just to connect with you if they want to reach out? Whichever, both, whatever you want to supply.
Thank you. Well, I didn't. All I really wanted to do was advertise about how we all have a very, very personal connection with our own divine essence. But if you want to have that enhanced, just go to yourheartshome.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And it's all the, there's information there. And I also do have a site on Airbnb, Your Heart's Home Retreat Sanctuary. But and it's really for intentional guests that want to come and dive deeper into the truth of their magnificent self and learn how to love themselves unconditionally.
Wow.
Yeah, and live the life that they absolutely deserve and that they're here to live, without the layers that get in the way.
Well, it's got my highest recommendation, and thank you so much. And just think, if you're going through something, Overcomer Nation, all this spiritual journey that Ranjita went on and evolved herself to be such a great servant to everyone else, and such a great help, and such a great healing artist, it all began with adversity. An addiction to overeating, and then just calling out to the universe. So when you're going through something, it might be that you might be going to a certain place, so it can take you to another great place. So that's so.
Can I just make one last final comment? And that you had a wonderful guest on that I listened to his podcast with you, and his name was Bedrose.
Yeah.
Bedrose. And Bedrose, I was fascinated because Bedrose says, one of the greatest gifts in my life was being molested. And, to be able to look at the things that injured us as the greatest gifts that actually end up leading us to our greater selves. And that's what I used to say. I used to say the biggest curse in my life is that I became addicted to food in such a compulsive, unconscious way. And then now I say the greatest gift that ever happened in my life is that I had this food compulsion and addiction, because it led me home to heaven on Mother Earth.
That's so good.
I want everyone to live in heaven on Mother Earth.
Thank
So
you.
Please come home to your heart. Your heart is that home. Your heart is that home.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ranjita, for being on the show today. I can't wait till we meet again.
Come to your heart's home.
Oh, I will.
I look forward to it.
You can
you have
count
a
on
home
it.
away from home. Okay.
I'll be back. See you.
Okay. Bye for now, Travis.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, Overcomer Nation. Make sure, if you haven't already, give us a 5-star rating. Make sure that you share this and subscribe so you can see all of our future content.
That's right. And if you'd like to be a guest on a future show, go to overcomers-podcast.com. If you're interested in our franchise opportunities with Journey 333, then go to www.journeyfitness333.com. And finally, if you like what you heard today and you feel like you're somebody that needs a bit more coaching, go to travisbarnes.com.